recording artist Sexy Red, whose name is Janae Wary, drawing criticism tonight over her behavior and performance after a student rally Wednesday at Shayfit.
She got kicked out of the school for her dysfunctional behavior, and she bragged about how she was coming back around.
The organization involved telling First Alert 4 tonight she was never even invited.
As the cycle of toxic behavior continues, she somehow keeps on getting bigger and bigger.
She's only getting bigger and bigger because of certain things.
Yeah, they said that I sell my soul. Should I just tell them the truth?
The question I have is it ever gonna stop?
She be joking.
And who's behind the machine that's pushing her?
Yes, they got me in this. I don't know. I can't get out of it. I'm getting too much money. I'm getting too much money.
Now, Sexy Red, a name most people by this point recognize. She's currently one of the hottest female rappers in the industry, has amassed a whole lot of success in a relatively short time. She's in fact one of the most streamed women in hip-hop right now, has received co-signs from Nicki Minaj, collaborated with Drake, and it doesn't look like things are slowing down for her anytime soon. In this video, we're not going to talk too much about the success of Sexy Red, because it's pretty clear that she is in fact a success, judging by the standards of the music industry. As long as you can garner attention, whether it's negative or positive, you will be rewarded monetarily, and so will anyone who's backing you up. I do, however, want to talk about the dysfunction of Sexy Red, because Sexy Red is, in fact, pretty dysfunctional. Janae Wary, professionally known as Sexy Red, is someone who's no stranger to backlash, as she's received a lot of criticism ever since her blow-up in early 2023. A lot of the criticism has stemmed from a wide range of things, however, the focal point of it all being the explicit content in her music and the negative influence of it.
The only reason why she's famous is because nowadays there's more hoes than classy people. A lot of these moms, and whether they single moms or married or whatever, half of them motherfuckers be hoes. So most of these people get it from their parents. They see what their parents do and they pick up on it. Or they didn't have a good childhood, so they... Because people don't realize you can use sex as a trauma response.
Importantly though, I want to focus on the behavior she's exuded in a few different instances. Back in November 2023, a viral story involving Sexy Red and a teacher ended up hitting the headlines. The reason for that was this video right here.
And another thing that's heart-wrenching is horrifying. Your 5-year-old daughters are asking to listen to Pound Town. Your 5-year-old daughters are asking, can we hear Pound Town? I'm playing them Princess.
Why are you crying?
Tiana ballet music, and they are asking me, can we hear Pound? And I'm so scared for these little girls today because this...
Yep, this is the shit they're gonna listen to, and that's sad because most of her fans are young people. So eventually they're gonna turn into hoes too. All she doing is teaching people that being a hoe is okay, and it's gonna get you money.
Insane agenda push I have ever seen in my life.
The video in question was of a young ballet teacher.
Take your children to better schools, and I bet you they're not gonna even know what Pound Town is. You take your children to better schools and they live in a better environment, I doubt they're gonna be listening to black people music or cultural music. They're gonna grow up listening to Disney Channel and white people music. We're having pop music and country and stuff and rock music.
Voicing her frustration regarding the children in her class singing along to one of her most explicit records, Pound Town, the song that catapulted her to fame. A very normal reaction from a woman whose job is to be around these young girls all day, who also knows what it's like growing up as that young girl herself, and she was seeing the negative impact Sexy Red's music was having on these young girls.
And then these rappers, they're gonna say, well, that's your fault, because why does your children have electronics? Why aren't you monitoring what they're watching or what they're listening to on their electronics? That's what they're gonna say.
Sexy Red, however, didn't agree with the teacher's criticism and quickly dismissed her comments by saying, "Girl, shut the hell up and play my song." The main concern the teacher had, which she brought up, was related to her not liking the idea of children being exposed to sexually provocative
I'm not laughing at. I'm laughing because why the fuck would she say that?
content. Sexy Red is someone who benefits from people consuming said content because that's the main theme in her music. The dysfunctional aspect of this, of course, being her lack of willingness to acknowledge the fact that her music is inappropriate for little girls or children in general. This entire story resulted in a wave of backlash for Sexy Red, and on the other end, support for the teacher, as a lot of people were calling out her ignorance. Now, it didn't result in much, as Sexy Red still continues to climb in the industry.
I think that's another thing too. When stuff becomes popular nowadays, the people that's younger than us, I'm 27. I'm speaking on the people that's like 24 and younger. They're hype beasts, or as you would say, a bopper. No, a bop, not a bopper. A bopper. No, I would say a bopper. Bop to me is a hoe, but a bopper is somebody that copy other people, or a hype beast. So those are people that copy other people. Hype beast is like formed off of shoes or whatever, but I'd use that as well because at the end of the day, that's somebody literally doing stuff because the next person is doing it or because it's popular. Like, you know how people get a new pair of shoes because it's popular? It's the same thing with music. People are only listening to her music because it's popular. That's the only reason. I'm pretty sure if her music was never popular, people still would not be listening to her. And I'm not saying this to judge or anything because I like Sexy Red, but some of this stuff is true.
Schools across the St. Louis region were unexpectedly exposed to an uninvited performance in the parking lot by a rapper.
Why was she going to schools uninvited? And that's kind of common sense because they can literally call the laws on you for trespassing, especially if they're underage.
So this school put me, I came up here, got you, trying to talk to the kid, get you out of that, they gonna put me on. Tell me that's my weed, watch this. My job hard. Every day.
You probably do smell like weed.
A few weeks ago, Sexy Red made headlines after she got kicked out of a school in her hometown of St. Louis for smelling like marijuana, something she ended up responding to.
You do know that, like, you're not supposed to go to school, you're not supposed to go to a middle school or high school with marijuana anyways. Even if you go in there, they can literally call the laws on you and get you kicked out.
After the fact. As you could hear, she wasn't too happy about not being allowed to talk to the kids in the school, whether or not she was actually booked to be.
You can't be a good influence if you're not really setting that influence.
Nobody really knows, but if she was, that would obviously be way worse. Because why are you smelling like marijuana when you know that you're about to speak to a bunch of little children? I wish I knew the answer to that question, but from her perspective, she didn't do anything wrong. What ended up happening in the end is Sexy Red pulled up to the front of the school with her car and turned up with the kids, despite the fact that they
probably was twerking on top of the car.
Want her on the property.
What'd I say? Told you.
Which that in itself is an issue. The kind of thing any average human being would have faced real repercussions for. I guess when you're famous, rich, and poppin',
she could have got a trespassing charge just for that.
Consequences don't come with the package, right? Now, this is standard behavior for Sexy Red, though. In all the controversy she's been involved in, Sexy Red has always been very dismissive of any criticism that points out her dysfunction. The most concerning thing here is that a lot of these stories involve children, and how her actions might be affecting them negatively. However, it seems like she doesn't care all that much about the negative influence she's having on them. The reason behind why that's the case? Well,
because she's making money. Duh. If y'all was twerking 24/7, right, and having sex all the time, and talking about sex 24/7, and that was making you rich, what would you change? No, because that's the only way that's making you rich. Duh. How she came up is how she's gonna forever be, because that's the only way that she's steady having money.
Sexy Red has been getting heavily rewarded for showing up in this way.
She probably, in her head, she's like, okay, me being a bad influence, that's been getting me money. That's what people not getting.
There's the incentive for her to actually change her ways. The 4C hair comments. Sexy Red recently decided to make a post on her Instagram showing off her hair. In the midst of showing off her hair, she indirectly made some disparaging comments about 4C hair. That's the hair type that most black people naturally have, for anyone who doesn't know. You carpet, hair, beanie, neck, hoe could never, Sexy Red said as she was showing off her straightened hair in this video. Most of us know that straight hair is synonymous with white hair, which is the...
She was basically going off on, I would say, 70% of black women. Because most of us have really bad hair types and textures. And she was basically saying, like, her hair is better than everybody else's.
Opposite of 4C hair. Sexy Red got a lot of backlash for this, which I think was justified. She ended up responding to the backlash by saying, I F with people with carpet hair. They're cool, but if you're talking smack, I'ma call you carpet hair. Nothing against my fellow 4C hoochies.
Then who was you talking about? You should have put an ad on it. You so bold. You so bold. She must have been slugging.
Best response, especially from a PR standpoint. But then again, this is kind of normal for Sexy Red.
I feel like she does and says stuff to get more attention. Because when her name starts dying down, you start hearing all this other stuff. Even with that damn sex tape. Most celebrities, they create sex tapes or they post sex tapes. Or even their nipples slipping or anything like that. Because it creates views.
Say that this is surprising at all. I mean, here's a woman who literally became famous by leaning into an extremely negative stereotype of black people, more specifically black women. I will say that it is paradoxical how she literally insulted the bulk of her audience with her comments. It's almost like she knows that there's no repercussions to her words.
As soon as I said that, he put the leaked tape, which is the sex tape. And she posted a sex tape on her story, and she was like, oh, that was one of the hoes I was fucking with that posted the sex tape. How did he get access into your phone to post a sex tape? And if he was doing that shit to get revenge on you, he probably would have posted some other shit besides just that. It would have been other stuff too posted. It wouldn't have just been that. And then number two, how did he get into your Instagram? Because it was only posted on Instagram.
Speaking of dysfunction, let's talk about one.
Most people, if they have a sex tape of a celebrity, they're going to send that shit to the blogs. They're going to be like, oh, I need $1 million, this, that, and the third. They be getting money off of sex tapes. They're not just going to dry post it on a celebrity story to expose them. If anything, they're going to post it on their Instagram, not yours.
Viral moments involving Sexy Red, which involves the infamous tape that went viral. Back in October of last year, Sexy Red went viral after a video surfaced on the internet. Now, the video didn't surface by itself, which is...
I hate these baby hairs.
Catch hair. She herself ended up posting it on her Instagram story. After a few minutes, she deleted it, but it was already too late at that point. The video spread all over the internet, and her not-so-pink coochie went viral. Right after this, she responded to the video going viral on Twitter by saying, I'm so heartbroken, anybody that know me knows I wouldn't do no goofy stuff like that. Sexy Red was insinuating that the tape had gotten leaked accidentally. Her explanation was, the video was saved on my phone, I was on my Instagram when I ended up throwing my phone, and that's how it got uploaded.
How the fuck did it get uploaded? Because you threw your phone. You have to press, like literally, when you go on Instagram, right? Don't you have to press the plus button right here to post a video? And then after you press the plus button, then you gotta press whatever, right? You press whatever right there after that. And then after you press, like, let's say this, okay? Bank account. It's my bank account balance. So then you press next, right? And then you gotta press next again. Even if it's a story. Like, if it's a story, you have to literally press the plus button right here at the top. Right? And you still have to press, like, I'm gonna give y'all an example. Boom. And then you have to press your story, right? Right after. You literally have to press multiple buttons for it to be posted.
Anyone with a functioning brain understands that this tape leaking was of course intentional. It was just one of the pieces that was needed in order for her to continue rising. And
she wanted to do that because she wanted to be more famous. She probably felt like she was a one-hit wonder after one song or two songs.
it worked. A lot of new people discovered her as a result of it, which was a part of the plan. The visual aspect, i.e. her...
She does stuff to stay trending. And it gets cringy after a while.
Her coochie being all out like this is very
She reminds me of Consent, like a female version of Consent. Like you overly doing stuff. You overly doing stuff because you want clout. Like you overly have to act like somebody you're not. Like you have like him. His personality is so overboard. I bet you if he was not on Twitch or YouTube, he's probably a totally whole different person. And then you go in front of all these people and your personality is super loud and super extra and super all that shit. Exactly like her.
With how she's actually being marketed. The overall theme of her music, of course, being SEX. That's what Red sells. It's literally a part of her stage name, so it doesn't take a genius to figure that out. Keep in mind that her biggest song...
Most rappers sell that. I'm sorry to tell you that. Especially female rappers.
Town has a line about what...
R&B artists, what do they sell? Sex. It's the same thing.
Her pum pum is. So when people...
It's just more ratchet with rappers.
Visual evidence, they can connect to that, and her pum pum ends up not being so pink. What do you think that's going to lead to? Obviously a viral moment, and that's exactly what happened. Mission accomplished. The most disturbing part about the story is the fact that a large percentage of her audience consists of little children, specifically young black girls. Her attaching her name to this tape and leaking it like this means that they most likely saw it. Is it her responsibility to raise these little girls? Absolutely not. But as a child, most of us...
She got 2 children. They're gonna grow up watching their mom on a sex tape.
Have looked up to some kind of public figure, whether that be a musician, actor, or whatever. Imagine your role model deliberately leaking their own private parts for the entire world to see, just to promote themselves and pretending like that's not what they did. What kind of message does that send to the young minds of the world?
She's a clout chaser.
Who are watching this go down?
She just want money. That's all it is. She don't care about fans. She don't care about none of that shit. She just wants to make sure y'all are constantly keeping up with her so she can get her views up. If y'all not keeping up with her, she not gonna get no views. She don't get no views. She ain't gonna get no money. But young females that's like 15 and 20, they don't know that shit. They don't realize that shit. It's like being a rapper is like equivalent to being an influencer. TikTok, YouTube, all that shit. Views. Literally views. She get paid off of streams, and however many times you click her song, that is views. It's just not a video. It's a music clip. Same thing.
Now, I refuse to draw a line after this tape because she was already no muy bueno before this, but it is kind of sad how an artist can get so heavily rewarded for something so vile. This is why Sexy Red is in the position
that is the definition of somebody that's what they sold on. Basically, you're doing anything for clout. You're doing anything for views and money.
And by the way, being willing to promote yourself as a
selling your soul don't mean that you necessarily have to talk to the devil or be demonic.
Figure in ways that are degenerate is the cheat code. The more of your ethics, morals, and values you're willing to strip away for the attention is the more benefit you're going to see. I didn't create the industry. That's just how it is. Before we continue talking, let's go over the archetype of a Sexy Red, because this is one of the most important aspects of why she was chosen. I did say chosen, and that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, she was planned. She was a plant. You know how they say industry plant? That's what she was. They're trying to promote today's society, the government. Hopefully my stuff does not get demonetized and deleted. Shut up. Basically, an industry plant is something that labels push, like they push an artist or a certain influencer that people watch. They push them because they want to promote a certain objective, which is sex. That's why certain people are having babies and certain people have transmitted diseases. Because sex was not this popular back then. Nobody cared that much about sex 24/7. Like, people was not this lustful like how it was before. Like, people are literally horn dogs. Like, they feel like they have to have sex every single day. Or they have to have sex with any and everybody all day, every day. Like, when men look at females now, it's literally just sex. They don't even look at women with respect anymore. Every single time they see a girl, they just think about fucking them. And females nowadays, when they look at men, all they thinking about is money and fucking them. That's it. Nobody's thinking about being friends with nobody. Nobody's thinking about dating nobody no more. It's literally fucking. That's it.
Anyone who still hasn't realized this, Sexy Red was handpicked by the industry to play the position she's currently in. You need to understand that nothing, especially as it relates to the music industry, a billion-dollar industry, happens by mistake. Here we have one of the most viral artists on the internet climbing by the second. She's not the best rapper, doesn't make the best music, although she has a couple bangers, I must say. She's kind of trashy by her own standards, doesn't portray herself as the most morally inclined human being. Despite all this, she continues to climb. And the question is, how is this level of rise even possible? That's a question a lot of people are asking as it relates to Sexy Red. There's a lot of angles we could look at this from, whether it's the marketing aspect of her personality. A lot of money has been dumped into promoting Sexy Red. At this point, it's definitely in the millions, which is crazy to say because she still is a fairly new...
I figured that too. That's why she had so much money in the beginning. Buying all these damn chains and clothes and stuff like that. Like, how are you that rich and you still wear fucking clothes that don't have no material to it? I don't know how females get rich and y'all still dressing like $5 hoes. You still dressing like somebody that walked into a beauty supply store and bought a bunch of clothes. Or somebody that walked into like one of them cheap ass clothing stores. Like, the only thing that I could tell that she has money is by her hair. Because her hair is always laid. But other than that, your clothes is not it. Your shoes not it. Your car, I doubt they paid off. You look like you don't be in the house anyways. I don't even think she has a house. If she does, I'm pretty sure she's written that bitch out because she's never home. Like, if you guys watch her stories and shit, she's always traveling. Which is understandable because, like I said, you're an artist or whatever. So you got tours and interviews and photo shoots and shit like that. But still, like, no.
But one of the answers to that question, I'd argue the most important one, is this. Sexy Red is a walking caricature of a very big group of people. Black women. The word caricature derives from the Italian word caricare, which means to load or exaggerate. The English definition is as follows. The art of making, drawing, or written, spoken description of someone that usually makes them look silly by making part of their appearance or character more noticeable than it really is. Annibale Carracci, who was an influential Italian painter of the late 16th and 17th century, played a crucial part in the development of Western art. Alongside his brother Agostino, Annibale is credited with initializing the inclusion of characters in modern-day art form. Characters have since then become a very powerful tool used mostly as propaganda by the media to either present a false image of a big group of people or to condemn said people by displaying them as foolish. In 1938, the Nazis organized a public exhibition in Dusseldorf, Germany. The exhibition in question included a poster displaying a cartoon caricature of an African-American male playing on a saxophone with the Star of David on his tuxedo. This was their attempt at vilifying jazz music, which they deemed as NIGGR music. We may live in 2024 where the world is more inclusive than it used to be, but the subtle use of caricatures, especially in the music industry, signals that we still have a lot of work to do. In a world dominated by media propaganda that shapes our perspective of things, but especially people, Sexy Red is being used as a tool by the music industry to further propagate a negative view of black people as a whole, but especially...
That's what I was thinking too. I was like, she's a bad representation of black women. And y'all see why black women are still getting degraded to this day, because no black woman is making it seem like we're classy, we're smart, we're educated, none of that shit. No influencer is making it seem like that. Not one.
Black women. The black woman has since the dawn of time undoubtedly been the most disrespected woman on the planet, going all the way back to the Jezebel stereotype, which was a social construct that was created during slavery. The black woman was portrayed as a hypersexual and sexually voracious woman whose value to society was purely based on her sexuality and her body. That preconceived notion had a lot of drawbacks. The stereotype, among many things, justified a wide range of abuse against the black woman's body. Hip-hop, a black art form that was started with the sole purpose to empower young black Americans, has unfortunately been used by the music industry as a tool to further propagate that very thing black women and the good black men have been fighting against. Sexy Red herself is that walking stereotype. The overall theme in her music is consistent with the same ideas the Jezebel stereotype promotes. While Sexy Red's virality keeps getting more intense by the second, and the industry that propped her up continues to profit off of a false stereotype she's pushing, an entire community of people get wrongfully judged for the actions of one person.
Black people are not a monolith though, so what am I actually even saying right now? The question here isn't whether or not we are the same, because black people are not all the same. If they haven't told you, we're not all the same. We're different as human beings, from different backgrounds to different personalities to different hobbies to different interests and all the other intricacies that comes with this thing called the complexity of being a human being. That is not the concern here. The concern, however, is that mainstream media has portrayed us as a monolith. I never blame individual people for falling into this trap. However, I do blame the larger system, which is compiled by individuals, for broadcasting one aspect of an entire group of people. Sexy Red is not only directly but openly contributing to that negative view of her own kind in a way that I honestly think is disgusting. However, Red is an openly trash and ratchet chick from the hood who became rich and famous by validating a false and negative stereotype of her own people. A negative stereotype which black women have been fighting against for centuries. And by the way, she's obviously no different from a lot of the other women in the game. The only difference is that Sexy Red is the one who's in the focal point at this very moment. Now, do I think it takes an immoral person being put in this type of position, if you will, who's willing to promote oneself in this way? Yes, but I also recognize that it's not her job to project anything other than what she actually is, which is why there's a tiny part of me that doesn't blame her. It's a tiny part. After all, for Sexy Red to thrive, there has to be a demand from the market. On top of that, there has to be someone who's willing to bet on her. White men. Now, this is when we get to the strange side of the industry. Because here's the thing. For Sexy Red to be on such an elevated platform, she has to have a stable foundation that's allowing her to maintain balance in the game. She can't do that herself. Let's just say that there's a slew of highly powerful people in the music industry who are heavily invested in her success. Now, those people won't be named because I can't physically point them out. Even if I could, I'm actually not sure if I would, because your boy is trying to see another day. It is what it is. Don't hate the player, hate the corrupt game that controls everything. When it comes to how the music industry is set up and the powers that be, this is usually how everything operates. It's very similar to the puppeteer marionette dynamic, something Denzel Curry showcased in a very bold and blatant fashion on his song Cloud Cobain. In other words, just like how a puppeteer would control an object through pulling the strings necessary in order to create movement, that same performance can be seen in the music industry. However, it's way more subtle than you would think. There's always someone who's controlling what's being televised, and Sexy Red is the actor who's being used to tell that vision. Television. This person or entity has enough influence to govern what the different channels on the network are allowed to broadcast. The word broadcast derives from widely spreading seeds over a large area when planting. Now the word is used to describe sending out programs through radio or television. How that plays out in the music industry is, imagine the major record labels as these channels, and the different channels all have separate agendas. However, they're all meant to serve the program that's set by the network, i.e. the corporations.
Television or television has been around as entertainment for human beings for decades and decades. The first electronic television was successfully demonstrated in San Francisco on September 7, 1927. The system was designed by Philo Farnsworth, who at the age of 15 years old had worked out the principle of the image of focus. This is an aspect that's not very talked about, especially as it relates to music. Music has for a very long time been used as a form of hypnosis or mind control, if you will. Hearing your favorite song at the right time, at the right frequency will naturally put you in a state of trance. Not something that's inherently bad unless...
People don't realize that regular music is still meditation music. It's just a different type. Yeah, like demonic music and high frequency music, and then you got in between. If you guys go look at, if you type in your favorite rappers' different songs or albums, it's going to show what frequency is on what song. Like, for example, The Weeknd. I think this is The Weeknd and Travis Scott or something like that. If you go look up The Weeknd, what's one of his songs? Like, look, I'm going to show y'all. You can type it in. Watch. Go on YouTube, type in The Weeknd or Travis Scott or NLE Choppa or Young Boy or something like that. And it's going to show you, look, The Weeknd often. 432 Hz. That's hertz. That's a frequency. The Weeknd, Dawn FM, 432 hertz. The Weeknd, Starboy, 528 hertz. And different frequencies have different abilities, so it could be positive influence on you or a negative influence on you. That's why sometimes when you listen to music, it can inspire you or make you feel better or make you happy, make you smile, laugh, whatever. You got some music that's going to automatically just make you feel negative as fuck, make you want to hurt somebody, make you want to kill yourself, make you want to cry, stuff like that. Those are all low frequencies. The Hills, 936 hertz. Okay? Let's look up NLE Choppa. You look up his. Boom. Top Shotters, 432 Hz. Shotta Flow, 963 Hz. Sleazy Flow Freestyle, 528 Hz. Capo, 417 Hz. Now, look up Drake, right? His is probably high as hell. His is probably high. I'm not going to lie to you. Family Matters, 963 Hz. The higher it is, the better the frequency. Passion Fruit, 528. Headlines. I love that fucking song. 852 Hz. Worst Behavior, 174 Hz. That's a negative song. So you could literally look up any rapper and type it in, and you'll see if their music is low vibrational or high vibrational. Literally. Let me type in Sexy Red while we doing this. Get It Sexy, 432. You My Everything, 432. Ski, 432. Looking for the Hoes, 432. You Know What to Do, Mad at Me, Pound Town, Nacho, Hellcats, SOTs, I'm the Shit. All that is 432 Hz. So I'm not gonna lie, that's low.
The content being fed into your subconscious mind is of a lower frequency, something the late XXXTentacion famously spoke about before he died.
What's the point of music? It's not always to have fun. It's not always to have fun. Sometimes it's to help people find themselves, because music is frequency programming. What frequency are you being fed? I will hope before they go pull some negative shit out of this conversation, they pull this part of the conversation. At 15 years old, I was doing sound engineering. So I was playing with frequency. I was playing with equalizers. I figured
that's beats.
Out that hertz is to understand the frequency vibration, right? If I play with those frequencies, right, I can target certain parts of the mind. If I want you to astral project, or if I want you to go to sleep, or if I want you to go into a meditative state, I can make my music do that.
Have you ever seen those videos of children singing along to a song that may be inappropriate for a younger audience? Speaking of the devil, this video right here is a good example. What you're seeing is a form of hypnosis. The frequency of the music impacts the young mind in a way that's not so overt. From the outside, the only thing we're seeing is music being played and children singing and dancing along to it. Seems pretty innocent, right? On a deeper level, however, there's something else going on. Pictures are being painted in the subconscious mind, and these are not images that are very productive, especially to children. Everything from the lyrical content to the visuals that appear along with the music to how she's being marketed to the world. Red is a very carefully crafted personality.
They use hypnosis also in music videos. So like certain colors, certain backgrounds, certain clothes, all hypnosis. Like and then Cardi B WAP music video with Megan Thee Stallion, that was hypnosis. That's why the song blew up. Because if you guys saw, it had like a black and white checkerboard on the floor, which is a part of hypnosis. Different colors, different symbols. It could be numbers, it could be certain words, certain colors, like I said.
That's what it feels like to me, at least. She's a walking stereotype that's supposed to be a representation of that large group of people. Being black women, of course. The question still stands. What really is the negative impact of an artist like Red? And why is it so important that we wake up to the truth about this? Well, for starters, Red's existence in this industry is for the sole purpose of capitalizing on a false stereotype of an entire race of people. Black Americans have been fighting against pervasive stereotyping for hundreds of years. The world has come very far during this time, but not far enough because figures of similar archetypes with the negatives that come with the propagation of this false image. Red is promoting some very destructive ideologies, both in her music and outside of it, with her actions. With 67% of African American children living in a single-parent household, which has been proven to negatively affect the upbringing of the child, Red's music serves as a soundtrack for that family structure which plagues so many black families all over the country. The promotion of baby mama culture and a lifestyle that goes against the formation of the nuclear family isn't something black families need more of. The advocacy of these ideologies as to whether or not you get put in a position of power is your level of integrity. The less of it you have, the higher probability you'll get selected as one of the many agents of dysfunction. This is why rappers like Red seem to effortlessly gain so much popularity, despite anything that comes their way. Their success in the industry has already been predetermined with the help of a selection process that evaluates them on a deep level as human beings before they get access to any type of platform. The music industry is a billion-dollar industry that can't afford to give the keys to the people who won't follow suit. The more you're willing to strip away your morals, ethics, and principles, the higher likelihood you'll have an entry to the game. Just take a look at the most popular artists. What percentage of those artists are actually promoting things that are good for the youth? You tell me.
Yeah, that is facts. I'm not gonna lie. If you're promoting like good, nobody's gonna pay attention to you.
Red has already accepted everything that comes with her decision to sell herself and her people out by promoting the worst parts of her community. A big part of this process involves certain rituals that must be done before the benefits come. In Red's case, one of the things she did was leak her own tape to solidify her commitment to the position. This was done in order to connect the dots between the false image of the black woman she's portraying and herself. We also have her dismissing the negative impact of her music on children. Part of the reason why she's been planted as an agent of chaos and dysfunction is so she can infiltrate the minds of young black girls. This is consistent with one of the qualities the music industry seeks in artists they put at the forefront to promote certain destructive agendas, which is immorality. Those who stand for nothing will fall for anything. In Red's case, her loyalty is with money and fame and not with her people. We also had the promotional run for her song F My Baby Dad. As she was getting closer and closer to the birth of her child, Red recorded an unofficial music video in the hospital to her song F My Baby Dad, which is pretty self-explanatory. A big aspect of branding is adding context to what it is that you're intending to promote. This was her adding that context, which further capitalizes on the false stereotype she's pushing.
Now, despite everything we've talked about so far, the truth of the matter is this. Red is a product of her environment. This is a perspective that highly is in favor of her, and I'm not afraid to vocalize this aspect at all. I may not be a fan of Red, but I can recognize why she appeals so strongly to a lot of people. I still stand by the fact that I don't believe she's a good representation of the black woman. Personally, I hold the opinion that she's the worst representation possible. However, taking all my emotions out of it, she is a black woman, and That's something nobody can take away from her, ever.
She's also a representation of a very large group of women. It's estimated that 14% of the U.S. population of women is black, and 7% of the total U.S. population. That accounts to over 20+ million women. Keep in mind that this is only in the United States.
She's also not afraid to take up space. Red, if you guys haven't noticed, is very loud and she's very fierce. These are attributes the average person doesn't naturally carry inside of them. Most of us are afraid of being overtly audacious. But not Sexy Red, and this is directly connected to one of the primary needs we crave as human beings, which is the need to be accepted. Fear of rejection is the biggest dream killer of all, and it can cripple you, just like how it's crippled a lot of your favorite public figures. This is something that does specifically speak to the black woman on an internal level, because historically speaking, the black woman had to fight tooth and nail just to get seen and heard. Let's not mention the hundreds of years of putting up with abuse, which is directly interwoven with people not listening to you. That's something that will shape the rest of your lineage in a certain way. Being forced to build that defense mechanism over a long period of time has certainly something to do with why so many black women cheer Red on. At least that's what I think. Because look at it like this. They don't see a person promoting dysfunction when they look at her. They see a melanated woman who comes from St. Louis, of all places, the murder cap.
They just be looking at her like, oh, okay, she was broke and she rich now. I want to be like her. That's all they care about.